Imagine a perfect landing, a routine touchdown by one of the world's safest airlines, turning into a fiery belly flop from 85 feet in the air. How could this happen on a crystal clear day in Dubai? This is the story of Emirates Flight 521, a flight that ended in a catastrophe that shouldn't have been possible. It's August 3rd, 2016. At 12:37 in the afternoon, Emirates Flight 521, a massive Boeing 777, is making its final approach into Dubai International Airport. On board are 300 souls, wrapping up a journey from Kerala, India. The weather seems perfect, not a cloud in the sky, but appearances can be deceiving. The Dubai heat, a blistering 49 degrees Celsius, is creating an invisible enemy. The air over the runway is a battleground. Hot desert air clashes with cooler sea breezes, giving birth to a treacherous invisible phenomenon, wind shear. It's a sudden, drastic change in wind speed and direction, a trap waiting for the unsuspecting aircraft. The pilots, an experienced captain and first officer, are lining up for runway 12L. The approach is textbook perfect. The massive jet glides gracefully towards the tarmac. But then a tiny miscalculation. The captain initiates the flare, the final nose-up maneuver to soften the landing, just a fraction of a second too early. Instead of settling onto the runway, the 777 does something unexpected. It floats. It hovers just above the ground, carried by a cushion of hot air rising from the scorching asphalt. It sails past the designated touchdown zone, eating up precious runway. Suddenly, a gust of wind from the left pushes the aircraft. The left wingtip dips and makes contact with the runway. It's a gentle kiss, but it's a critical moment. The pilots realize their window for a safe landing is gone. The runway ahead is now too short. The standard procedure in this situation is a go around, abort the landing, climb, and circle around for another attempt. The captain makes the call, go around. He pushes the toga switch, take off, go around. This is the magic button, designed to command the engines to spool up to maximum power for a rapid climb. He pulls back on the control column, expecting the 777 to roar back into the sky. But nothing happens. The engines remain stubbornly at idle. Unknown to the pilots, that brief, gentle touch of the wingtip on the runway had sent a signal to the plane's computer. The system thought the plane had landed, and because of this, it had disarmed the go-around automation. The toga switch, their lifeline, was useless. The auto throttle, which should have been their backup, also remained silent. In the cockpit, there's a critical misunderstanding. Believing they are in a powerful climb, the first officer follows standard procedure and retracts the landing gear. Positive climb. Gear up, he calls out. But they aren't climbing. Not really. The plane's momentum and the hot air give them a brief, deceptive lift. A false climb. The aircraft muses upwards, reaching a peak altitude of just 85 feet. But without engine power, it's a fight against gravity they are destined to lose. The flight computer knows the truth. The airspeed is dropping dangerously fast. The wings are losing their lift. A terrifying stall is imminent. Inside the cockpit, the computerized voice of the ground proximity warning system screams, "Don't sink, don't sink." It's a desperate last-second plea, but it's too late. The laws of physics are absolute. The massive Boeing 777, now without its wheels and without sufficient speed to fly, hangs in the air for a horrifying moment before it plummets. It slams, belly first, onto the hard runway with a sickening crunch. The impact is brutal. The aircraft doesn't stop. It becomes an 800-meter-long, uncontrolled projectile of metal and fuel, skidding across the tarmac in a hellstorm of sparks and screeching metal. The engines are ripped from the wings. The plane spins violently before finally grinding to a halt. Silence. Then chaos. Inside the cabin, it's a scene of panic and confusion. The lights are out, oxygen masks have dropped, and the smell of smoke is quickly filling the air. An inferno has erupted, fed by the jet fuel pouring from the ruptured right wing tank. The cabin crew, trained for this exact nightmare, spring into action, screaming, "Evacuate, leave everything, jump and slide." But their orders are lost in the panic. Some passengers, in a state of shock or disbelief, stopped to grab their carry-on luggage from the overhead bins, creating a deadly bottleneck in the narrow aisles. Outside, the emergency is just as chaotic. The wind, which had been a factor in the crash, now becomes an enemy of the evacuation. It whips the inflatable emergency slides, twisting them and making them difficult to use. Some are completely unusable. On the airfield, firefighters are scrambling. They see the plume of black smoke and race towards the burning wreckage. But in the initial moments, there's a lack of coordinated command. The first fire trucks arrive, but they struggle to get into an effective position to fight the blaze that is now engulfing the right side of the aircraft. Then the unthinkable happens. The center wing tank, containing tons of fuel and oxygen, explodes. A massive fireball erupts, sending a shockwave across the airport. The blast tragically kills one of the brave firefighters who was rushing to the scene. The explosion tears the wing from the fuselage, and the aircraft is consumed by flames. It seems impossible that anyone could have survived. Yet, in what can only be described as a miracle, every single one of the 282 passengers and 18 crew members made it off the plane alive. The evacuation, despite the luggage and the damaged slides, was completed in a matter of minutes, just before the catastrophic explosion. But as the smoke cleared, the questions began. How could this have happened to a modern aircraft flown by a world-class airline? The investigation by the GCAA, the UAE's Aviation Authority, would uncover not one single cause, but a chain of silent failures, a series of small events that lined up perfectly to create a disaster. First, there was the weather. The undetected wind shear and the extreme temperatures created a highly unstable environment for landing. The pilots were flying into an invisible trap. Then there was the critical gap in pilot training. The crew of Flight 521 didn't fully understand the complex logic of the Boeing 777. They didn't know that a brief touchdown, even a light one, could disable the very automation they relied on to power them out of trouble. They pushed the toga switch, trusted it would work, and it didn't. This highlighted a dangerous over-reliance on automation, a blind faith that the computer would always do what was expected. The investigation revealed that this wasn't an isolated incident. There had been other cases where crews had been confused by the 777's go-around logic, but they had been lucky. Emirates 521 ran out of luck. The crash of Emirates 521 served as a stark, fiery wake-up call for the entire aviation industry. It led to major changes. Boeing updated its flight crew operating manuals, clarifying exactly how the TOGA system works and its limitations. Airlines around the world, including Emirates, overhauled their pilot training programs, putting a new emphasis on manual flying skills and ensuring crews understood the deep intricacies of their automated systems. You can't just know what button to push. You have to know what happens when you push it, and more importantly, what happens when it doesn't work. The survival of all 300 people on board is a testament to the aircraft's structural integrity and the bravery of the cabin crew. But the story of the crash itself is a chilling reminder that in aviation, there is no room for assumption. It's a lesson written in smoke and fire on a Dubai runway. A lesson about the fragile relationship between pilot, machine, and the unpredictable forces of nature. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of pivotal moments in aviation history. Fly safe.